This is the 48th video in a collection of videos studying the 101 laws of the Success Mindset Code. In this video, we will address the 48th law, the law of learning from defeat. Defeat is something most people try to avoid at all costs, especially in the later stages of life. When responsibilities increase, when bills grow, when time feels shorter, the idea of failing becomes heavier. But here's the paradox that very few truly understand. Defeat is one of the most valuable teachers you will ever encounter. Not because it feels good, but because of what it reveals about you, your decisions, your blind spots, and your mindset. The law of learning from defeat is a reminder that true failure is not in falling down, but in refusing to rise with new wisdom. And for anyone seeking financial prosperity later in life, this law becomes a critical part of your evolution. Most people associate defeat with shame. They internalize the fall as proof of personal incapability. They carry the weight of financial mistakes, bad investments, impulsive spending, business attempts that didn't work, and years wasted doing something that never brought them closer to financial freedom. But defeat, when embraced consciously, becomes a mirror. It reflects exactly what you need to improve. It reveals which habits sabotage you, which beliefs limit you, and which emotional reactions keep you repeating the same patterns. Every time you try something and it doesn't work, you gain data that success will never give you, because success rarely forces introspection. Think about the story of Raphael. After months of planning, he launched his business and expected immediate results. The market responded with silence. Instead of drowning in self-pity, he observed the situation with humility, listened to his customers, adjusted his strategy, and tried again. The second attempt succeeded because defeat refined his approach. Now compare this to Henry. When his project collapsed, he blamed everything around him. Instead of reflecting, he turned defeat into identity. And because he refused the lesson, he never tried again. This is the tragedy of those who misunderstand defeat. They think it signals the end when it was only meant to initiate transformation. Financial defeat often comes disguised as debt, lost opportunities, retirement anxiety, career stagnation, poor investments, or economic downturns. But behind every fall exists an invitation. Look deeper. What belief led you here? Which behavior repeated itself? Which emotion hijacked your decisions? Money responds to mindset. If your mindset remains untouched, your results remain unchanged. The law of learning from defeat demands that you develop the maturity to convert pain into strategy. In your younger years, you may have bounced back quickly, ignoring the deeper lesson. But in this stage of life, the lesson matters more than the speed of recovery. Wisdom is now your strongest asset. To learn from defeat, you must first accept it as part of the process. No one who builds wealth does so without losing money at some point. No entrepreneur succeeds without several failures. No investor grows without experiencing downturns. Your goal is not to avoid defeat, it's to avoid repetition of the same defeat. Reflection turns defeat into tuition. Every painful outcome you've lived through paid for knowledge you now own. So ask yourself, did you cash in that knowledge, or did you just suffer the pain and move on without extracting the lesson? The next step is honest reflection. Sit with your past financial mistakes and ask uncomfortable questions. What exactly happened? Which decision chain led there? Which emotion drove that choice? Fear, pride, impatience, pressure. Honest reflection is what separates growth from stagnation. Most people avoid it because it hurts their ego. But ego has never made anyone richer. Then comes identifying opportunities hidden within the fall. Every financial setback exposes a weakness. Maybe you lacked emergency reserves. Maybe you depended on a single income source. Maybe you never studied financial literacy. Maybe you allowed impulse to drive your decisions. Defeat shows you where to reinforce your structure. When you reinforce those weak points, you don't just recover, you upgrade. Persistence is another key component. After a certain age, many people become more cautious. They say, maybe it's too late. But persistence is not about reckless repetition. Persistence guided by learning becomes strategy. A person who fails 10 times repeating the same mistakes is stubborn. A person who fails once, extracts 10 lessons, and tries differently becomes unstoppable. Every lesson you integrate shortens the distance between you and prosperity. Defeat also teaches humility. It softens rigid perspectives. It forces you to reconsider beliefs you held tightly. Perhaps you always thought you could manage money alone. Perhaps you believed your career was forever secure. Perhaps you avoided conversations about finances out of shame. Humility allows new perspectives to enter, and prosperity requires new perspectives. But there is something deeper. Defeat reveals identity gaps. When financial defeat happens, it doesn't just hurt your wallet. It challenges who you believe yourself to be. Many people panic not because of the numbers, but because their identity was tied to the illusion of control. When you face defeat with maturity, you redefine identity not around outcomes, but around adaptability, resilience, and character. There are a set of powerful questions you must ask yourself. What truly went wrong and why? What behavior repeated itself? Which skill is missing? What emotion is leading my financial decisions? How can this story become inspiration instead of shame? These questions are the internal audit of prosperity. You cannot grow financially without growing mentally. You cannot accumulate wealth with the same beliefs that created scarcity. Defeat often reveals unrealistic expectations. Many individuals expect quick returns, overnight fixes, or effortless growth. When this illusion collapses, frustration appears. Real financial prosperity is built with consistency, education, and emotional control. Defeat helps you realign expectations with reality. When your expectations mature, your results mature. There's also the emotional component. Shame, guilt, and frustration after defeat can paralyze progress. Many individuals freeze their dreams because of one bad decision made years ago. They allow one chapter to define the entire book, but defeat is only permanent if you stop writing. When you choose to learn, defeat becomes a chapter titled Transformation, not End. To truly unlock a prosperous financial mindset later in life, you must redefine your relationship with defeat. Instead of seeing it as personal proof of incompetence, see it as feedback. Instead of letting it silence you, let it train you. Instead of carrying shame, carry wisdom. Your past mistakes are your most valuable financial mentors if you are willing to study them. Think about the people you admire financially. They are not successful because they avoided defeat. They are successful because they mastered the art of learning from it. They didn't repeat the same errors. They built systems, habits, safety nets, and strategies informed by experience. Prosperity after difficulty is stronger because it carries wisdom in its foundation. As you move forward, consider this. Every defeat holds an unanswered question. Every unanswered question becomes a repeated mistake. So answer the question, study the fall, extract the lesson, upgrade the behavior, rewrite the belief. And when you stand up again, you won't be the same person who fell. You'll be wiser, stronger, more strategic, and mentally prepared for the next level. Defeat is a requirement of evolution. Without it, you would never grow beyond your old financial identity. This was just the beginning. In the link below, in the first pinned comment, you'll find something to speed up your growth even more. Did you find this content useful? Then like the video, comment, share it with more people, and subscribe with the notifications on.